We are starting a new series today called One. And this series is all about kind of my challenge for you guys in this new year, 2024, is as Christians, we think about the fact that we are supposed to change the world or like reach people and make an impact for the kingdom of God. And when you think about that like as kind of an abstract idea, it seems scary and challenging. Like, how am I supposed to change the world, or how am I supposed to tell all of these people about Jesus? But really, what I want you to focus on is just one. That when you're trying to have an impact, really is one life at a time. Like, pick one person, pour into them, and if at some point they decide to make that decision for Jesus, like, then you could turn your attention to somebody new and start pouring into somebody else. But it's just one at a time. You don't have to try and change the entire world all at once. And that's what this series is all about. But even looking at one person is scary. Telling one person, stepping out of your comfort zone and telling one person your story, or talking to them in conversations about faith and religion and all kinds of stuff. Like, they're tough subjects for a reason, and it's not a comfortable conversation a lot of the times. So it can be scary, and it can be feeling like you're going into the unknown, and that's part of what makes it scary. Is like, you don't know how this person is going to respond to what it is you're saying to them. Like, you don't know whether they're going to be receptive of what you're saying, or if they're going to kind of reject it and you're going to burn that bridge or whatever. Like, it can be scary. But calling people into the unknown is not something that is new to God. And the story of a guy named Joshua tells us that. So starting off with a different guy, a guy in the Old Testament that if you've been in church at all, you've probably heard of, and his name is Moses. And Moses did a lot of cool things while he was, like in the story that we see of him in the Old Testament. Like, he parted a river down the middle so that people could, a sea. Why did I say a river? He parted a sea so that his people could walk across on dry land to get to safety. He literally freed the Israelites from bondage in Egypt, and he was the one who led these people as they wandered in the desert and spent 40 years wandering looking for this promised land. And then just right before they were about to enter the promised land, they finally made it. They were right about to enter the promised land, and Moses goes and does something stupid. You know what he did? He died. So he didn't, don't do that. So he never got to see the promised land that he led his people in wandering while they tried to find it. And he never got to see it. But all of his people looked up to him. All the people that were following Moses, they had this great leader who they saw do some incredible things as he did all of these miracles, all of these signs that he did as he got Pharaoh to release the Israelites, and he led them through the desert. And they saw all kinds of miracles while they were in the desert, as manna fell from heaven and all kinds of other things to keep them sustained. Like, this was the leader. This was their guy that got them through all of that, and now all of a sudden, he's not there anymore. And so this guy named Joshua takes over, and he is the new leader, and they're on the edge of this promised land. And all of a sudden, he's like wavering on the edge of this unknown. Like, how do we move forward into this? How do I lead these people who are going to look at me and expect to see Moses and expect to see all the things that he did, but I'm not him? Like, how do I lead them? And this promised land that they're trying to get into, it's not like it was a perfect place just waiting for them. Like, it was already inhabited by other people. And not only was it inhabited by other people, but by scary people. Like, these dudes were big. And they sent scouts ahead, and they looked at them, and they're like, we don't want to mess with these dudes. Like, they're going to destroy us if we mess with them. And yet, This is what Joshua is tasked with. So as we're going to look at this story of Joshua, and what it's going to tell us is two things. One, that God knows, understands, and cares about the things that we're scared of, our fears, and that there is nothing to fear when we trust and obey God. So I'm going to read this passage to you, and I want you to listen for 3 different promises that God makes to Joshua in this passage. And sometimes it might actually use the word promise, and it might say, like, I promise this, but sometimes it won't. And there are 3 promises in this passage that I want you to look out for. So let me wet the whistle really quick, and then I'll read it. Yeah, that's better. All right. This is in Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. It says, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, and said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. From the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. So, first promise, he says, is, I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. So no matter where you go, wherever you're standing, that is land that I, God, have given to you. How comforting is it to know when you stand somewhere that, like, it belongs to you, or like it's a safe place for you, like standing in your bedroom compared to like in an awkward place, like out in the open at school or something. Like there's different feelings there. When you know it's your safe space, a place that belongs to you, like there's some safety and some ability to kind of let down the walls a little bit. And God's saying, wherever you go, that land is that for you. Like that land is yours. So you can find comfort in that. Second one is, it says, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. So God says, wherever you go, not only will you be safe because it belongs to you, but because I am not going to leave you. Like, I am going to be with you. So, third one, it says, be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. So he says, it's going to be this land, wherever you go, it's yours. I'm going to go with you, and that land over there, I'm going to deliver it to you. I'm going to fulfill the promises I already made. I already promised that to you, that thing over there that you're questioning. Like this, that's something I want to go get, and God says it's mine, but look at these guys that have it already. Like, I don't want to go try and take it from them, but God's saying, like, no, you're going to get it, so go with the knowledge that it's yours, and you can go take it. So because of that, they're able to be strong and courageous. So, Joshua led this people into this unknown, scary predicament. And they didn't know what was going to happen, but they knew that this is what God was calling them forward to do. And he promised that he would be with them. And what I'm calling you to do this year in 2024 is to be more open into sharing your story with somebody else. And that can be scary. It can be just as unknown and just as intimidating as what the Israelites were facing on the verge of entering into the promised lands. When was the last time that you had a conversation about Jesus with somebody, with a friend that isn't part of this group, that didn't happen here at youth or didn't happen with somebody that attends youth group? When was the last time you had a conversation about Jesus? That's our challenge for this year, is to step into that unknown of moving into an area of your faith where you're intentional about sharing Jesus with your friends. And when we move into this space, God is telling us to remember the promises that I gave to Joshua, to be strong and courageous and just do what I'm calling you to do and understand that I'll take care of the rest and I'm going to be with you if you just take that step. We don't have the power to change anybody. Only God has that power. So we just have to trust and obey that he's going to move in those spaces if we just simply unlock the door and allow him to move. So we're moving into this new territory, and that requires us to look a bit different. And the best way I can explain it is with these 4 chairs that I have on the stage here. So these 4 chairs represent 4 different people. And this first chair represents the person who is like doing everything right. You know, they're the person that they have the relationship with Jesus. They do their daily devotionals. They read the Bible, they pray every day. They're doing everything that God expects of them. They're living life. Like, you look at them and you know that something's different about them. The best way to put it is that their life demands an explanation. Like, you look at them and you understand that there's something about them that you need to understand about them to understand the way that they are. That they live differently than everybody else. And that this is the chair that God is calling us to sit in. He's calling us to be people that our lives demand an explanation. People look at us and say, why do they do that? Why do they love that way? Do they talk that way? Do they interact with people that way? Like, he wants us to live as a full representation of him. But a lot of us are not here yet. We're probably sitting more in chair 2, which are the people who say they love Jesus, they have a relationship with Jesus, and yeah, they come to youth group, they do all the stuff that they're supposed to do when they're here, but outside of here, outside of this place, their life starts to look a lot like everybody else's. They might do a lot of the same things, they might live in a very similar way to everybody else. And then you have chair 3, and the only difference really between chair 3 and chair 2 is that this one says they have a relationship with Jesus, and this one doesn't. These people say they're not a Christian, they don't go to church, they don't really do anything else, and they talk the same way as this person, they live the same way, they do all the same things, they hang out with the same people. The only difference is they don't claim Jesus. And then you got chair 4, these are the heathens who, they hate Jesus, they want anything to do with church, they're the ones who, they're so against everything that has to do with Jesus, and they're just rejective of it. But if there's one thing that I know as I've spent years in youth ministry is that the chair 4 people, they're watching what the other 3 are doing. And the biggest problem is when you look at these 2 in the middle, is that they're living the same life. And the only difference is that one of them says they love Jesus and one of them doesn't. And so the guy sitting over here who doesn't see any need for religion, doesn't see any need for Jesus, they look at these 2 guys and say, why would I claim him if my life isn't going to change at all? Like, what need do I have for him if I can live the exact same way and not claim him and not be a Christian as if I were to say I love Jesus? Like, their lives look exactly the same. What's the difference? So my challenge for all of us this year is to be chair 1 people, to be people that our lives demand an explanation. They need a reason. Why do we look this way? Why do we love different? Why do we talk different? Why are we so accepting of other people? And why are we different than everyone else? And the encouragement that I have for you is found in Joshua, back to that Joshua chapter, or that book, chapter 1, and starting in verse 9. It says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And we're not called to do this alone. We're not called to go out and just figure it out on our own. God gave us purpose and promised us his presence, that he was going to be with us. That's what he said to Joshua. He said, your purpose is to go into that land and claim it. But he also promised his presence. He said, but I'm also going to go with you. And he's given us a purpose, and he's given us his presence, that he's going to stay right by our side. So this year we're going into new territory, and we're going to find our one. And that's the question I want you to think about over the next few weeks, is who is your one? You don't need to have a long list of names of people that you need to make an impact on. Who is your one? The one person that you know in your circle of friends, whether that's at school or that person that you work with, whatever the case. Who is the one person that you are going to be a chair one person who's going to live a life, give them an explanation of why you are the way that you are going to share your story and pour into that relationship and speak into them why you are the way that you are, why you have the life that you have. So, we are going to be people who live demand explanations. And today in our small group time, we are going to spend some time helping you develop that explanation so that you're ready to share your story. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to go into small group time where we're going to spend some time working on that. God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as a group to hear about your promises that you've made to us, that even as we move into the unknown and the scary idea of speaking out for you, of speaking your love and your life into other people, that you promise that you will be with us and that you will help us as we move into that space. God, I pray for each student in here that they can first find the words to express the way that you have transformed their lives and the love that they have experienced through knowing you. And then I pray that you give them the sight to see the opportunities to share that love with other people, know when the time is right and when it's not, to speak into other people's lives. And then I pray that you give them the clarity to know how to express their story, express the ways that you've transformed them and the life that you offer to those who still don't know you. God, I pray over this small group time that we're about to spend together that it can equip each student to be ready for those moments. And it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.